Hello and welcome. It's Dawn Campbell for the 30-minute, well, it should be live, and it is live for Gino and I, but it's not live for you guys. I'm sorry, but I cannot make the technological aspect of it work today. So normally I just abandon it and think, oh, I don't know what to do, but I've just had a brainwave of recording it, and we'll post the recording because I don't want you to miss out on listening to Gino, and I don't want to miss out on being with Gino myself, because it's very difficult to pin him down. He's stateside. I'm in Europe, so it's sometimes a bit tricky managing our calendars, isn't it, Gino? So welcome, and thank you for agreeing to be my guest today.
My pleasure. Thank you for the time.
Yeah, you're very welcome. So we've used the time we were waiting to sort out the techie issues very effectively. But just to set the scene properly for anybody who stumbles across this recording and thinks, what's this about? It's called Ask Me Anything About Accreditation. We hold this every single week. So whether you're interested in becoming a training to become a coach or a mentor, then somebody like Gino is ideally placed to answer your questions. So you'll be able to ask questions retrospectively by email or in the chat box. Or maybe you're interested in working with a coach and or mentor. Again, Gino's ideally placed to support you. Perhaps you're even thinking about adding accreditation to your professional portfolio for the first time, or it's something that has just not crossed your radar because, let's face it, it's an unregulated market. And you're thinking, how is this going to help me catapult my business in the future and get more clients? And then, of course, you actually may be a training provider already. And you may be a university, an academy, thinking, how do I get more bums on seats? How do I get more international clients? How do I make a bigger difference? And accreditation is one of those key differentiators that students are increasingly asking for. I am going to apologize. I have got a bit of a sore throat, so I'm sucking a lozenge and I've got a cough, so excuse me.
That's okay.
So let me introduce Gino to you properly. Gino De Maio is stateside. He's a multi-award-winning IAPC&M fellow coach and mentor who supports leaders around the world. Like me, he's passionate about CPD, so he's a perpetual student, always on a course. And hopefully we'll be learning more about his own course, his own coach training course, anytime soon. So I always like to start these sessions, Gino, please, by asking a question around what fills your heart with joy outside of work?
That's a good question. I really do think, I'm a little bit older, so coming home and being home, really, it's such a peaceful place, and it's a great escape from reality. And I just love it to death. And then of course music, but mostly, I do a lot of mindfulness, but that on top of like learning new things brings me immense joy. Someone once told me I'm pretty one-dimensional.
Oh, you just like learning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, if the back, the bookcase behind you is anything to go by, you're very well read.
Yeah, I do enjoy. I probably have read most of those numerous times.
So those are some of your favorites then?
Yeah, and it's kind of funny how things kind of, you might purchase something and then it might come around later and then it has meaning. And I will say, well, I bought that like 20 years ago. Now it's got meaning. It's weird.
I know. Well, it seems a funny thing to say, but I have found that occasionally a book will literally leap off the bookshelf for me. Like you said, a book I bought a long time ago. We're both in our early 60s. So we've had a long time to collect books. And then you think, well, one fine day, I'm going to read that. So I buy a book. I buy a lot of books. I'm very drawn to books, but I might only skim them. But eventually, one day, I will read it. And so that does happen, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
What are you reading at the moment?
Well, Atomic Habit right now. So atomic habit is really the theory of um, creating new habits. Like, what is the process that you have to go through to break that cycle, the debung methodology of a habit. And so the author, I'm trying to think of his name right now, but he also has a really excellent master class on the philosophy of how to break a habit. And then the other thing that I'm paying a lot of attention to is Chip Conlon has a new book out, and it's about multiple transitions that we go through in life. Most importantly, that where you turn 60 and, like my primary care doctor said, Gino, what is your plan? And I said, my strategic plan. She's like, no, your Gino plan. And I said, well, I don't really have a plan. And so it's real. That was kind of eye-opening for me because, well, my brain, I feel like I'm 30, my body, not so much. But I feel like I have a lot left to give. And so it's the thoughts that it's kind of like limiting self-beliefs that we have when we coach people, or when you do an emotional intelligence evaluation. People have these belief systems, and mine is that, oh my God, I'm in my 60s, like I have nothing to offer the world. And I've realized,
wisdom.
yeah, and I realized like I probably have not felt this good ever. And so, I look at certain habits that I want to change. And so that's kind of what I'm working on. And I'm reading a lot about team coaching right now as well, with assessments. And that brings me to working with people on conflict resolution and that sort of thing.
Okay, I'm just grabbing another throat lozenge.
Yeah.
Well, we're both practicing Buddhist practitioners as well. So mindfulness, meditation, reading, studying the sutras, it's important. And I'm also a meditation teacher. So the book that I'm just working through at the moment with my students is a beautiful book, Looking at Mindfulness by Christopher Andre. And it's through art. Looking at mindfulness, 25 ways to live in the moment through art.
Oh, nice.
It is. It's a lovely book. And yeah, it's kept me going with my students for months. So probably like you, I have lots of books on the go all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm still reading Old Paths, White Clouds, Old Paths by Thich Nhat Hanh. That's like a volume. That takes me forever to get through. But you might like this one as well. I don't know if you know Natalie Goldberg. I think she's Canadian, not American.
Okay.
And she wrote all the classic writing books, like Writing Down the Bones. But the practice of writing a memoir, Old Friend from Far Away, she's a Zen Buddhist. So there's some nice things in there as well. And I know you're writing your course program. So you might like hers. And the other one I've just finished is, again, Thich Nhat Hanh, because he's one of my favorites. I've been on retreat with him, is Reconciliation, Healing Your Inner Child. Beautiful book. And I love these because that you can dip in and out as necessary. And you learn something new with every paragraph.
Yeah. Two other people so I will listen to a book on audio. And if I've changed, right? I used to read the book, and then if I really loved it, I would listen to the audio. Now I listen to the audio, and if it's page worthy, something that I'm going to hold on to for life, then I'll buy the book, right? Yeah. So I recently, Matt Hahn KAHN. The universe always has a plan. And that is just really it's a fascinating book. I just finished listening to it. He was part of the Tassajara Zen Center in California, which it happens to be like, miles away from my sister's house in the mountains of Carmel. And I mean, he started off with, he has these 10 virtues. And the first one is it hits you right like a ton of bricks. It wasn't your fault. Right. So we have these ideas that, well, it must have been my fault when I was a child or that sort of thing. And he just breaks it down. And he was here in America, and I couldn't. He was at the Omega Institute in upstate New York, but I didn't have time. I couldn't fit it in. And then Mark Lessier, who has Providing Clarity, it's called, and these are all mindfulness subjects.
Another one to add to my Christmas list. I'm kind of like you with regard to the book buying, because I think it was about 3 years ago now, we had a house fire. And over the years, I've been decluttering. For 20 years, I've been sort of practicing decluttering. And I can't remember which book I read it in, but they said every time you dust, pick up an object and hold it and look at it and think about, do you value this? Is it still bringing you joy? If not, put it in a box and give it to a gift shop and let somebody else enjoy it, rather than hoarding. And for me, I realized, having worked in the corporate world and having lovely suits and shoes and handbags and jewelry, gradually moving to the country and having a much more down-to-earth life, living in wellies, stomping with the dogs in the forest, lots of things went. And then my last bastion, I suppose, was my books. And then we had the house fire. And I lost a lot of my library. And I thought, right, now I have to get an adult phone, a Kindle, all, because I'd never bothered having a grown-up phone before. It was just a little flip Nokia. And I thought, well, if I have a phone, I can put my photographs on there and I won't lose my photographs. I can put all my podcasts on there, which was it opened up a whole new world to me. The Tara back. There's just Seema Chodron. There's just so many. Well, I don't know how I fit time into work anymore. I could just be on podcasts all day. So then I got my Kindle for the books, and I started thinking, what are the books that I've lost that I want to put on Kindle that I value and will read again? And so I'm now like you, unless it's a book I want to really run a highlighter through, which I know is not, some people think that's sacrilege to do that. I buy very few hardback books anymore. They're all on my Kindle. That was my sort of last, for me, it was my last lesson in attachment, of really letting go and not being distraught at having lost my library.
Yeah. When I was, 22 years old, so just to give you an idea, so I had a library. I'm talking about a library filled with audio tapes. So, you open it up and there's like six on each side. There are
all
12.
Those Nightingale Conant
yes.
Yeah,
and
I remember them.
I had an entire bookcase filled with this stuff. So I listened to a lot of Wayne Dyer and Bucky Fuller and, from Conning Nightingale. And it started to become digital, right? And I'm like, and so when I worked a regular job, I traveled like within the state of Connecticut. And so I listened to audio tapes everywhere I went. So one day I'm like, all right, so I'm going to share these and I'm going to I'm going to do something with them. So I loaded up all these milk crates and I brought them to my car. And I had a vehicle. I always had a state vehicle because I drove so much. And I couldn't let them go. No matter where I went, I couldn't. So I got put into this. I had retired and I stayed in the city to help them implement juvenile justice programs like truancy court prevention programs and juvenile review boards, where a kid could be diverted for throwing a book at a teacher instead of being arrested. Right. They could go through this. And so I was totally out of my element. I was in inner city. People would actually say to me, what could you do? How can you help us? You're a Caucasian guy from New London, which is considered a coastal community. And, back then, forensics and criminogenics was my background. So it didn't matter who you were. People do things for the same reason. So I had to put together these juvenile review boards, inner city. One was at night. And I would meet with people, business owners, faith-based leaders, and they would walk to my car with me. And I would open up my trunk and I would put my leather bag in there, and they would look at there and they would say, "Oh my God, what is that stuff? I love Zig Ziglar. I learned about goals." And I looked at him and I'm like, "Here you go. This is for you." And over a period of time, very organically, the right person who needed that book or that audio series got what they needed.
That is a beautiful story, Gino.
Yeah. It may have taken a year, but I wasn't letting them go until people saw them and they're like, "Wow, I can't afford that. Can you?" And I'm like, "Here, yours, take it."
Yeah. I mean, they were pretty pricey, weren't they? And I was a big fan of Zig Ziglar because I was a sales director.
Oh,
so I encouraged all my team. It was part of their induction was to go through the Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, all the classics, as you know. But then, of course, as you say, the equipment changed, and now you'd be hard pressed to find somebody with a Walkman or a tape deck to be able to listen to. It's a real shame, but how things have changed. So how did you get into coaching then?
Well, so, I still, I've always been in a pretty high level leadership positions, even starting at a pretty young age. And I had to, when I was at the state of Connecticut, we specialized in determining competency to stand trial for people that had developmental disabilities. And so that was different than people that had mental illness. And so if you had a developmental disability, it's quite possible that you're not competent and you're not able to retain information over a long enough period of time. And that's not going to change. And if you continue to do rote learning, they're going to be a parrot and they're going to be sounding like they know what they're talking about, and they're going to end up in jail and they're not really competent. So I had to work with groups of people that were probably so much more qualified from me academically. These were psychiatrists, and but they had to report to me. And I figured I needed to figure out a way to get these egomaniacs to kind of listen to what I did. So I mastered the art of collaboration. And so I've always got more joy out of guiding and watching people grow, whether or not they knew that's what you were doing. So with that group of people, they had big egos, and I would never say that to them. But fast forward, when I retired early, I was still 48 years old, and this position, they asked me to stay on because the C-suite was being eliminated. And I really had to take a coaching, mentor and consultant and clinical role in healing the organization. So my obsession with coaching and mentoring and consulting is to help me be a better leader and to then be able to train the next level of people so that there are other people ready to step up. Because in the next 10 to 15 years, there's not going to be enough people ready to fill the vacancies. And so I realized that, wow, I have the skill and I have like this natural ability to really do inquiry and get right to the heart of the matter. And then through all of my years of leadership, I'm like, and I have a tool for that. I can give you a tool for that. And so that's kind of what got me into this, and having a great fiscal person that allows me to take all these trainings in my agency, it's just like a benefit. But I feel like, it's kind of morphing into this is going to probably be my next thing. And I'm not sure what that looks like. Do I take a role of instead, doing I love group coaching and team coaching. And I love working with people who have conflict with each other. But I like to create tools and things like that. So I may, I've already started to kind of work on products that I might be able to sell and put out there. And when I do my coaching engagements with people that are out in the other world, it's so much different than doing coaching with people that I manage.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So where did accreditation fit into this, Gino, then? Because this has happened quite organically for you. And what time did accreditation cross your radar?
Well, when I started taking the certified executive coaching program that got me ready for ICF, the accreditation for me, I believe it's important. I feel like the knowledge and the life experience that I have and that sort of thing in my regular education, I feel at my age probably would not be questioned to that great of a degree. But I felt that it was important to have an accreditation, and I felt like it was important to be around people that are going through the same thing. And I just felt like every single time I do an event with a group of people that are working through accreditation, it's almost like, it's like graduating from college all over again with a group of people that you've really got into some deep conversations with. And so and it also makes you have to continually learn. And so I think the accreditation is perfect for that reason.
And you didn't settle it with just one accreditation. You went on and got more accreditations.
I did. Important? Well, I have to be honest with you. So I'm a very kinesthetic person, and I go by feeling. And I won. I don't know how. Oh, I know how I stumbled upon your accreditation. So I'm a very, very big fan of Cheryl Richardson. And so I just finished reading Extreme Self-Care for the Wisdom Years. And she happens to only live 2 hours away from me. So I keep thinking I'm going to run into her in the Cape Cod. And I have been reading her book since I was 21, The Unmistakable Touch of Grace, and was an amazing book. And I actually reached out to her and I sent her a picture of, I had a really nice sailboat, and the name of that sailboat was called Touch of Grace. because you think in terms of, think about Zen and what's his name? Wayne Dyer, right? The word Satori means instant awakening. And every time I would get on that boat alone, I would instantly be in a different place. And so I told her about the whole grace thing. And so she was pretty touched by that. And I saw she was speaking at this place. And I'm like, I gotta go check that out. And so I felt that her affiliation meant her affiliation to speak at your weekly workshop was very important to me, because I know that she's very particular about who she endorses. And I thought, I got to check this out a little bit more. And then I had a conversation with you, had a great conversation with Dave. And I felt that so more things are more important than just the hours and sitting for an exam that I really struggled with philosophically. And so I felt that I really wanted to be part of this accreditation, most definitely.
Yeah. And I'm sure that a lot of people, I mean, I'm dyslexic, so I know there's a lot of people out there who feel that doing tick box exercises, writing essays, etc., is not the best way that they can reflect their skills. Whereas ours is a capabilities module rather than competencies. I think it makes it totally inclusive. Because if I had to write an essay, you know, it would take me ages. And it means it's a very holistic, organic approach. So if somebody doesn't have 20 testimonials, or somebody doesn't have whatever the criteria is, that's fine. We'll have a longer interview and we'll talk about it. So it means not only is the capabilities model a really accurate way of assessing somebody's capability to deliver, at the end of the day, we're not talking about rocket science. It's a conversation, a coaching conversation, facilitate a good session. So it's that, but it's also the fact that I really wanted it to be inclusive. So originally we were competencies based, and I just felt when I joined the board that this was something that we had to change, and we have. And the feedback we've had has been amazing.
I'm so glad you did, because here's where it really came true to me. And it was when I had my, so I'm a fellow, and I had 2 conversations to wrap things up with David. And so the people that I work with primarily are pretty high achievers, and they are pretty interested in getting better. And what happens is, so I then discovered this ability to do a hybrid model, meaning I could do coaching, I can do mentoring, and I can do some consulting all in one conversation, and nobody's going to come out and yell at me. And because the thing about it is, sometimes people, when I start off with them and I figure out where their head is for the day, they will come right out. I have this problem. I know I need to learn to be able to have hard conversations with people a little bit better. I've done their EQI 2.0, so I know they struggle with low self-regard, and they're looking for a tool. Could you just give me, because, you know, if they don't have the experience, or they don't have the tool or the knowledge about what's something that you can use to solve a problem, you can give them hours of inquiry and they're still not going to come up with the idea. So when I discovered this, I can go hybrid. Wow, that opened up a ton of opportunities for me.
And I presume your contract is hybrid as well. I mean, you know, your clients know that you can be wearing any one of those 3 hats at any given time. And they're happy with it. Yeah. I think this is one
Yeah.
of the key things, Gino. We say to students and new coaches and practitioners in general, you can bring in a whole range of modules. We're not at all prescriptive about that. As long as you've
Yeah.
got permission and as long as it's in the contracting stage, it's all
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
they have actually been able to kind of, oh, so you're gonna dig down a little bit deeper right now, and a lot of it kind of borders on because I do use EQI 2.0. People learn a lot about themselves, and so I find that we kind of move a little bit more to like a life coaching kind of thing. And I do have a cert in life coaching, and we do talk about some of traumas that they've been through. Why is it so difficult? Like I have a lot of young leaders that are brilliant, and and they might score unbelievably high on assertiveness, and they just don't understand, like, why do they get the cold shoulder from people. And I said, well, let's look at your emotional self-expression. It's a little bit on the lower side. And so the idea isn't to get to try not to be assertive, because that's who you are. If you focus on your emotional self-awareness and soften the edges a little bit and be aware and conscious of that, the way that you are assertive is going to kind of change a little bit. And so I find I have a lot of female leaders, and I'm not really sure why that is. The industry is dominated by females in the United States. And so it really is quite amazing to watch that transformation. Women will say it's okay for a guy to be overly assertive and be aggressive. But when women are assertive and then it goes into aggressive, it's taken completely different. And I look at the assertiveness and say, wow, that's a superpower. And if we can just tone and work on the delivery of that, so it kind of jumps back and forth. And that's what I love about this, taking on this role in coaching in your organization, because there's no one set way of doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you summed
Absolutely.
that up really nicely. I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, that's the whole philosophy of being holistic, is that because I quite often get training providers say, well, our course is a bit woo-woo, so you probably won't want to accredit it because it's not pure coaching. We've been accrediting courses for the last 4 or 5 years that are very different to what we were accrediting 10 years ago, that have a whole range of modules in, whether it's ceremonies, whether it's drumming, whether it's NLP, whether it's feminine energy, whether it's tarot reading. A whole range of things have come into the coaching world as tools to use, almost to give a client a pick and mix. What resonates with you. We'll do coaching while we tap, or we'll coach while we walk, or whatever. So it's really wonderful to see how it's evolving.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of funny because years and years and many, many years ago, when I was working specifically with clients, and these were duly diagnosed clients, right? So I'd have to do therapy with them, right? But yet they're not going to sit in a chair. So I used to take them golfing 18 holes, right? And so they had a propensity to be attracted to children, and that's the only way I can frame that. And so they were never going to be. They were not. They didn't have the intellectual capability to understand, I can just take off and run after that person. They would think in their mind, well, I need to go through this grooming process. And I thought, well, there's no children out here, so I can do golf for 3 hours with them, and I'm getting paid for it, and they're experiencing something that brings them joy, but yet we're doing our work
Working.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, very serious work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've often found taking people out of the office, excuse me, as a living foods practitioner, a holistic coach. You know, if somebody wants to talk about changing their diet from a standard American diet to a vegetarian or vegan or raw or whatever, take them into the kitchen.
Yeah.
If they want to do weight loss, take them out Nordic walking. So they don't feel like they're being coached, they're
Yeah.
actually living it.
Yeah.
So yeah, got similar philosophies there.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Rohan therapy?
No.
So Rohan. So Rohan therapy is the philosophy of so think about it this way. So as we grow and we go through life at certain ages, specific developmental milestones, traumas take place, right? And we all go through trauma and that sort of thing. But what happens is there is a permanent visual projection in your mind to when that trauma took place and what is the age of that particular time. And what happens then, you formulate all these opinions and perceptions. I must be getting in trouble because I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy, and you go on through life, and then what happens is you have these faulty thoughts in your brain and in your subconscious and in your body. And so it's a combination of therapy and a meditative practice where you go back in and through a process you rediscover that child, and you actually learn to look at them and say, what is the faulty thought this person is telling me, and how do I, it's really powerful. I'm talking like a session is like 2.5 hours long, but you can get like 10 years worth of work in, a year. And
Wow.
that might be something you want to look up. I've seen miraculous things happen, and I've seen people who want to embrace the work. That's why I feel the way that I do every time I witness something violent, and I visualize myself coiled up in a ball underneath my bed, and that sort of thing. And so, people, they go back to that, and your mind is telling you that, it's kind of like, if you look at, I have a website, just because I like to write and put things in there, but it's called The Space Between, and it's the Viktor Frankl quote, like it's the stimulus and response, and it's what's living in the space between. And so I do a lot. I use that metaphor while I'm doing a lot of coaching, and especially team training. Like what lies in between? Like, what are you doing in between? If you want your life to be better, what happens in between is really all that matters. And so so that's always been something that's been really beneficial for me, was the Rohan therapy. And I was lucky
I'll
because
look into that. I will.
yeah,
Because it kind of reminds me of Brendan Bray's,
yeah,
the work that she's done, improving herself at a cellular level, and then Brené Brown on the emotions. I listened to a great podcast of hers. I think she said her TED Talk was the #1 TED Talk in the world, over 50 million views. And I'm reading her book, Atlas of the Heart. It's interesting, and it's a book I recommend all coaches read, because it's interesting that, having surveyed thousands of people, the only emotions they ever said was angry, happy, or sad. And yet we've got 37 emotions, I think it is. And as coaches, if we don't understand the language, how can we help the clients to understand what they're going through? But yeah, the space between, I will definitely look that up, and I'm sure it's a beautiful blog I'll subscribe to. I know we did that sort of philosophy in my because I'm a meditation teacher as well. So
Yeah.
I did that a couple of weeks ago, and we were just thinking, just hold that space in between. What happens when you exhale? There's a moment before you inhale.
Yeah.
What's going on in that moment? Very much like you've got the choice between
Yeah.
an emotion and an action. What are you going to decide to do? Habitual
Yeah.
stuff or think about it. So there's so much good work out there, isn't there? I mean,
Oh yeah. My my agency, we're like a mid-size behavioral health. We do psychiatry and psychotherapy, and we see thousands of patients per month, but then there's like 11 residential programs, and I think there's like 450 people on really intensive caseloads with, they were homeless and they got a voucher to move into an apartment and everything. But I do a lot of mindfulness meditation. People might think we're going to meet to talk about strategy, but yeah, we're going to begin with a 20-minute. Sometimes I'll do a 45-minute full body scan, right? And they just can't move afterwards. And so they're kind of used to that. And I try to always kind of mirror the two together in some way. Like maybe if I do a 8-hour training with people, I may take a lunch break and then do some sort of meditation with them to start off with. And I find that everybody is in need of the ability to slow down.
Well, you mentioned our wonderful ICW event, the week-long CPD online learning. It's the 13th to the 17th of May this year, or next year. And we do sometimes finish the week with a meditation. But last year, or this year rather, we finished with Jerry Udelson, the founder of ICW, and she's friends with Cheryl, which is why Cheryl came and supported us, and Laura and all those other wonderful speakers. So we're already fully booked for next year, next year's May event. And I hope that, if I don't know, maybe you're even speaking, are you at ICW next year?
I may have thrown my... I may have
I saw your name.
All right, so I have fear over this, but I'm gonna just do it.
Good for you. Feel the fear and do it anyway, as Susan Jeffers says. And I know we're going to be seeing you again on the 17th of January for International Mentoring Day, another event worth celebrating. I'm conscious of the time, Gino. I know we started late, but I did say I would only keep you for half an hour. I feel that we could talk, and probably if this was live, people would be able to ask questions. So we will have to do a live again, because I get so many comments. People saying, I just had a cup of coffee and I was just enthralled by the conversation. So we will do it again, but I'm conscious of the time, so I am going to let you go. But for the sake of people who are going to listen to this recording, until we go live next time, how can people find out more about what you do, and working with you, and just give us a quick overview of what it would be like to hire you or to contact you?
Yeah, I mean, it would be, so it's no stress, no anxiety. It would really just be some conversation to figure out what your goals and objectives are and how it is that I can actually really help you. And then it's very, very basic and very simple. I just, I put the contract together. I try to be as detail orientated, but yet have that flexibility to continue to change as we can. But yet I'm a doer, like, right. So like you got to do the work, but yet I'm okay with periods of time where just having a great conversation is really valuable. And so, so people can reach me at Gino, Gino De Maio, DEMAIO @ soundct.org.
Okay. And of course, you're on the international directory
Yeah.
that we have. You're profiled on
Yeah.
there, and you've got a LinkedIn presence, etc. So
Yeah.
what's coming up for you in 2024? What can people look forward to that you're bringing out?
So I'm really excited to, so I just finished the Profile XP, and I'm looking for, what I love about that is like you can just put a bunch of data in there and I can pull out multiple types of reports. So working with teams, I'm just finishing the advanced team coaching certification. And so I think you're probably going to see me do a lot of writing, a lot of putting myself out there. And for instance, right, I've written recently, I've taken like, all 5 areas of an EQI. And then so you have five composites and 15 subscales. I've written documents and papers on every single one of them from a different perspective. So I'm looking to write, get myself out there, and I would like to create maybe some tools that, but actually I have them already. I just need to get them copywritten and that sort of thing. So you might see a greater online presence, but yet I have maybe a couple more certifications that I'd like to do. And I don't know what my deal is with needing to do 2 or 3 at one time, but I get it. And I'm passing them.
And how do you feel about culminating all your writing into a fabulous book?
Yeah, so that would be the ultimate thing for me.
I think
And
so. Beautiful legacy.
Well, thank you. And I remember you and I talked a while ago, and you were right. 100 pages, 90 to 100 pages are what people are looking at. They don't want to be overwhelmed with massive theory. They want to know that what you're doing, you have knowledge and that it actually works.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if it's more of like my bio. It wouldn't be a bio because my life is not that exciting. But it could be overcoming obstacles based on where I came from and based on where I am today. One would always have
all
said,
your learnings.
You are least likely to succeed at anything, and so so I don't know. It could
I'm going to pencil you in for our September cohort.
Okay. I'll need some help, most definitely.
Yeah. Well, this is what we find about our writing course, which is a benefit to IAPC&M members. They get it discounted. So 90 pages in 90 days. We're just coming towards the end. We've got 2 weeks left to go before our next cohort of authors hit the scene with their first draft of their books. And I think next year when we run it, we'll probably do a longer session and we'll do it over 7 weeks. Just, to try and shake things up and accommodate everybody's different needs. But I will pencil you in for September, and we will apply a little elegant nudge and see if you're ready to put all your beautiful learnings into one book by Gino. And
that would be very cool. I'll start thinking about, I might think about a name, and then I sometimes go backwards. I got to go out and then kind of go backwards. It's really kind of strange.
Well, we talked last week about what comes first, the synopsis, the title, or the book, and everybody does it differently. So it's whatever. I'm a fire starter, so I kind of throw myself in, and then I look at the detail much later. So we'll work it out together, I'm sure.
I write good content, but like someone once told me, I'm like, grammar is really not important because just the content. When you read it, just read for content. And then I have people that work for me that they've red pencils are coming back, and so I have these editors that just love to edit what it is I write. And
Yeah.
usually
You've
if
just
they
got to
say,
write
well,
from the heart and have
yeah,
that human element. That's what people are interested in. And the self-development, I think it's third biggest genre, and it's growing. And people, misery and pain sells. That's the truth
yeah,
of it. People want to know, what's the silver bullet? How did you get from A to B? Whether it's weight loss or career or relationships, whatever it is, how did you
yeah.
get from the painful situation to the successful situation you're in now?
Yeah. And I think that's why I kind of enjoy after a while you see so many categories of issues that people bring to the table. And they all kind of originate from a few specific areas, right? And after a while, it's just, you just have an idea of where to take that person and kind of get down there. That realization for that person, that's where it's all at right there. That's
Exactly.
where that's the payoff right there.
Yeah.
And so I do think specific tools. So I do have numerous training programs, whatever, where I have exercises, PowerPoints, and other things that I use to provide group trainings for people.
Well, I found that people may be dressing up the issue or the problem in ever more sophisticated, complex language.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's all the same thing. Like Pema Chodron says, just like me, we all want to be happy. We all want to be safe. We all want to be heard.
Yeah.
We all want to be understood. It's not rocket science, is it?
Yeah. I've been reading Pema Chodron since I was in my mid-20s. I think the first book I read was Places That Scare You.
Yeah.
You got to move, right?
My Pema
Yeah.
Chodron list.
Yeah, I have a list over here, somewhere over there. But yeah, she really is, wonderful speaker.
Yeah, and
Wow.
Thich Nhat Hanh was as well.
Yeah.
So,
You know,
well, honestly, I'm going to have to let you go, but I could have a smoothie or a coffee with you for hours.
I know that.
Share recommended book reading lists and all sorts.
Yeah.
But if you've got the time, I think next year is going to be the year where we do a lot more work together, master classes, celebrating
Sure.
mentoring day, celebrating coaching week, and so on.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to be looking forward to spending even more time and learning from you, Gino.
Me too. Thank you. These documents that you sent me, I send them to you?
To send them to me and David. Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And just really one question. So when I put down under the continuing professional development, is that what I've already done since the last time I submitted something?
Yes. Yeah. So basically, we're not prescriptive about what CPD entails, but we just ask for 30 hours every single year. So,
Right. Got it.
Okay.
I'm way over that. Okay.
So what time is it for you? I think it's probably late morning, is it?
It's it's about 10:40.
Okay, all right. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, Gino. Have a lovely
Thank
one.
you very, very, very much. It was nice to talk to you. Have a great day.
Thank you. And you.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank
Bye-bye
you,
now.
Don. Bye-bye.
Bye.